Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. We're in the Occult Adventures book today. We're continuing the War Magic series that I've been doing, where we look at spells of different spell levels up to level 6, looking for cool ways to utilize them in a warfare setting, a battlefield, a siege, etc., and trying to figure out what interesting ways we could apply this to a war and how much chaos it could cause the enemy, or how good it could bolster your side to make it more advantageous to you to have that available. And a lot of it's turning these spells into like one-use items. So, and I need to find the first spell list. And here it is. And what level am I on? I'm on level 5 spells. So this one's level 5 psionic spells. So we're looking at the mesmerist list first, and then we'll look at the psychic list for level 5, and go over any spells that are in the psychic list that aren't in the mesmerist spell list. So without further ado, let's dive in. Dream Council, communicate with multiple sleeping creatures. That could be a good way to transmit information and have private meetings in a warfare. Let me look that one up, see if the creatures have to be all together or if they could be scattered across the country. Because if they could be scattered across the country, that's going to be very useful. Unlimited range, but they have to be under the effects of Dream or Dream Council. So if you could give them all this ability as a one-use item, it would work to your all's favor to exchange information. You all just have to be asleep at the same time is all it says. So Dream Scan, read a dreaming creature's thoughts. That can be useful for interrogation. It could be useful for your strike force, your players, invading an enemy camp and finding somebody dreaming that is a higher authority or would know what's going on, and invading their dreams by understanding their thoughts on it. Foster hatred, causes creature to hate one type of creature. How much control do you have over that one? It's a little specific. It's a 30-foot area, but it can affect any number of creatures in a 30-foot area. But unless they would have a reason to dislike each other, say military comprising of different religious groups, they don't have to make a save versus this. They automatically resist it if it's just, say, a bunch of orcs. You're trying to get a bunch of orcs to fight each other. with this spell. But if you're, say, you want the orcs of Grumsh to fight with the orcs of Cord, then now they have an issue that they can deal with. But there has to be a presence of different groups for that to work. So putting that would be harder to use unless your military was diverse or whatnot. But it is possible, and you just need to create like an area effect, say a flask with this kind of dust that would fill the 30-foot area. Inflict pain mass. That affects more than one creature per level, or affects one creature per level. 5th level, you're looking at about 10th level or 11th level spells as a spellcaster. Interesting. I don't see that being converted into an object easily, but if you had that spellcaster or a wand or scroll of it present, I can see that being very useful. Mind swap, switches minds with another creature for 1 hour per level. I could see the PCs using that to get into a stronghold. You capture somebody, you swap minds with them, and then you're them visually, and they just keep you locked up, and at the end of the spell your mind switch back. So you could use that to gather information pretty good. And if you could have the rogue do that, that'd be even better with his bluff and diplomacy and whatnot, his ability to try to play off being that creature. Object possession. As lesser object possession, but with a larger object. Possession, project your soul into a creature's body. If you wanted to ride around and see what it's seeing, that would work. But that wouldn't help you on the battlefield, so. Primal regression makes a creature become bestial and unintelligent. Let's see if that's specifically creature or would affect humanoids. That would be a good one. It makes them really strong, but it drops their charisma to 3 and gives them a huge will save penalty. I can see that becoming very interesting. That would definitely add some chaos to the battle. I don't know how much you'd want to use that, though, because you wouldn't have any control over what their targets would be. Psychic Asylum, perform a lengthy mental task in private mindscape. Psychic Surgery, cure all intelligence, wisdom, charisma damage, and drain. Effects and condition. Repress memory, remove a piece of knowledge from your mind. If it's traumatizing, I can see that being useful, but it won't help you on a battlefield unless you're trying to help the soldiers after war's over to not be as mentally challenged as they are in the modern day. Mass synthesia, as synthesia, but affecting multiple creatures. Moves half speed, takes penalties, and has trouble casting spells. Okay, since that's a mass one, that would be useful. Put that on an object that you can launch towards the spellcasters. So let's switch over to the psychic and look at the 5th level. Dream Scan, Ego Whip 3 as Eagle Whip 1, but -6 penalty and staggered for 1d6 rounds. entrap spirit, trap an incorporeal creature, or a haunt in a mirror. Now, if it's trapped in a mirror, if you carry that onto the battlefield, you can then release it. I can see that being very entertaining. Erase impression, erase psychic impressions from an object, ethereal envelope, shroud your unconscious self in a cocoon of the ethereal plane. Etheric shards, fill an area with invisible shards that slow movement and damage creatures. That would be useful. That would control the movement of your enemy forces. And the fact that they're invisible means nobody will see it, but it slows their movement. So now the formation isn't moving as one, especially if you put this in an open field. You can then control how fast a portion of the shield wall is moving, or say the mounted mounts are moving, so on and so forth. Explode head. Explodes the head of a creature with 20 hit points or fewer and deals damage in a 10-foot radius around it. Damn. That would be intimidating. Put that on a sling stone. Have that as a sling stone where impact activates. And hand that out to your second, third, fourth row in the shield wall. And let them sling that over the wall at the enemies. And once the enemies start seeing their comrades' heads just explode, besides the fact that it'd be damaging the ones that didn't, that would be very intimidating. Remember, basic soldiers are only at most level 5. They're usually level 1 to 3 on average. So they have no more than 3 hit dice. And their hit dice, even if it's D10, if they're rolling average hit points, that's only a 15. If they have a con score of 1, that would be 18. So that's still a very useful and very intimidating spell. Insinuation 4, but affects 4 creatures, and you select confusion effect. Intellect Fortress 2, Mental Barrier 4, Mind Swap, Mind Thrust 5, Object Possession, Psychic Asylum, Psychic Crush 1. Sicken a target and cause it to start dying, or deal 3d6 plus 1 points of damage per level on a save. Put that on some sling stones. That could be very, very confusing to the enemy. Remote viewing. Gain a psychic impressions from a distant location. Retrocognition, gain psychic impressions from past events in a location. That can be good if you're investigating things, but I don't see that being useful on the battlefield. Synapsis Overload, deal 1d6 points of damage per level and stagger target for 1 minute. Put that on sling stones and aim that at the enemy. Synaptic Pulse Greater, Telepathy, Thought Shield 4, Tower of Iron Will 1, Wall of Ectoplasm. This causes fear and blocks movement on the material and ethereal plane. Now, if you could put that on some one-use items and have them dropped into key locations, you can then start segregating the forces of the enemy. That would give you a lot of control over what groups can do what groups can affect how. So if you did them on sling stones, you'd have to give it to the ones that your veterans that would know where you would want this wall to begin with, how you want to break up those forces and deal with them. So I can see that being very useful. And that's the last one on the list. But like most psychic spells, they generally aren't that good for combat. We only have one more level to check, 6 level spells in the next video. And then I might go back and make one more video checking both Cleric, Druid, Wizard, and Sorcerer spells all in once, because their list is not big, and I could go over anything that might have been only given to them, which would be very rare considering this is a psychic book for Pathfinder. But just in case. If I don't do that, then I've probably read the lists and there's no benefit to doing it. I don't know if there's another book left. I'll have to check my notes for War Magic after I'm done with the occult book. And then after that, off to a different book series. Well, hope you all are enjoying this. Check out the previous battlefield spells on my spell lists, on my War Magic list, because that'll give you a lot more information from all the books. I started with the core book, I did the advanced player's guide, I've done the mage guide, and everything else. So if you're interested in those, I do have those saved in a playlist for you. Until we all meet again, guys.